cleaning that we have to do as we jump into here. For starters, we're going over to Towers of Doom, but TeamNut to start off with. They have changed basically all their players. There is one player who remains the same, and that is Atui. So their new players are Mercy, Malthael, Atui, who we've already mentioned. Severmilk is still technically a sub, even though he is the manager. Jigsaw, Dia, and Nightmare. Nightmare is not on the current starting lineup here.
Yep, absolutely. So with those quote-unquote bottom-tier teams from last phase, we are kind of, surprised to see the new rosters. We are definitely very excited, though, because if there is one thing that China, at least in HGC League play within the country, is known for, then it's, bringing up new talent. Whether those players will make it to the international stage at the Eastern Clash or maybe even BlizzCon is, of course, that remains to be seen. However, we have seen multiple times how unknown player, you actually mentioned Muggle before, right? He was one of those players we didn't have on our radars, and boy, oh boy, did he surprise us in a very positive way last phase.
He did, considering they lost Lucky by Whitemane, by the way, the newest hero, not being let through after a performance, still at least decade. But he basically jumped out. He jumped out there after they lost. Lucky, yes. Replacing, we were all like, oh, well, the 1-0 is trouble. That was a great race assassin. Muggle filled in very well. So I'm curious how well Keshi is able to do here. Another piece of housekeeping we have to do, however, of a player who was always on our radar at least a little bit in one way or another, and that is the player who is formerly known as Hehe. Because at the Eastern Clash, during our player interviews, when I said I have a question for Hehe, I was looked at very strangely.
By the team?
By the team and their managers and stuff like that. And I was told that that is absolutely not how you pronounce it.
Oh, no!
So, apparently his name is pronounced Huhu.
Huhu?
Huhu. Yes,
okay.
as in like a UU in German, apparently.
Okay.
HH in German, sorry.
Okay, so it's like, there's a German way of saying hello in a very, casual way, which is like hoo-hoo, Okay, so, being German myself, I can definitely remember that, but I'm so feeling ashamed right now of pronouncing his, or mispronouncing his name.
How are we supposed to know? We're not native speakers, but now we shall change it, and by the time we get to BlizzCon, we will have infected all the other casters, either way. But now then, we have a Johanna banned out with so far not getting his hero, at least to begin with, as no tank is prioritized beyond the ban phase.
Yeah. Which is pretty crazy if you think about the other regions. We normally see tanks like Muradin, tanks like Diablo, very, very much high up in the ranks there. But
if you talk about Korea, for example, the fact that we see a Johanna ban makes this very unusual, whereas at the Eastern Clash, she was completely ignored, whereas at the Western Clash, she was highly prioritized. The difference between the regions, with Korea preferring the ETC and the Anubrak, for example.
Tetra, can I just take a moment and appreciate the new production value that we've got going here? Almost everything is brand new. The music in the background, we see different webcam frames, overlays, team introduction. It looks like, with the introduction of Whitemane, also our Chinese production team stepped it up quite a bit. And of course, for you guys out there, very important, Whitemane, you can see her band on the top left. So that means China has caught up in terms of patches, and we're going to be playing on the exact same meta that we're used to seeing on the other regions.
Indeed, I believe that means we're on the live patch as of today, not as of tomorrow. Actually, it might be as of tomorrow, who knows? If we start seeing Tyrandas, we will know. As we see a Phoenix finishing out the draft for the 1. They've got some pretty decent slows already, including Sergeant Hammer Mines are a pretty effective slow setup if they are placed in bushes, for example. And we finish off with Malfurion for TeamNut. Very standard-looking draft for TeamNut. Very, very poke-heavy on Towers of Doom. There's some good delay tactics you can do with that. Whereas on the side of the 1, we're looking at a little bit more engage-heavy and some more burst damage, especially if Hammer goes for that BFG.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned Hammer there, Tetra. He's been, or she's been, part of the meta for a long time right now. And it looks like, teams across the globe, especially in Korea, in Europe, they seem to be more willing to experiment, how to counter the Sergeant Hammer. And we've seen a couple of very creative approaches. I'm just going to mention Nazebo here, for example, who has made somewhat of a comeback in certain situations. So that's really cool to see. And once again, when a new season starts in HGC China, the main question for us as the casters is, how quickly are the Chinese teams going to catch up to what Korea and Europe and NA are doing? Or how long does it take for them to maybe invent their own approach to tackle the new meta?
Also, the question of which meta they're copying. If they're copying the Korean meta, for example, then we'll start seeing more ETC in the new brack. If they start copying the European meta, well, it depends on the team, because if they're copying Monkey Menagerie's meta, then we're going to start seeing Kel'Thuzad, Syndra goes to Arthas's. So it very much depends who they're studying, but if we're looking at Dignitas, for example, which I will say for TeamNut, this looks a little bit more like a Dignitas draft. Only I maybe replaced the Hanzo with Junkrat. But overall, looks pretty decent on both sides.
Yeah, I do agree with you. I also like the fact that TheOne is kind of trying to get into a more frontline heavy draft, which is something they've not always been known for, because Hugo likes his aggressive bruisers like Malthael and Thrall, etc. So let's see how that more defensive approach with the Blaze in the mix is now going to work out for them. Of course, they will have stellar protection for that Sergeant Hammer with the bunker. Garrosh is also going to be able to either make that play happen or also throw people away from the Sergeant Hammer. So let's see how that's going to work out. As you can see, once again, the studio is looking brand new, looking good with those wings on the side. Tetra, any final words about that draft?
I do want to say that even with the Decacane nerfs that we saw before we ended the last season, the one thing that was not nerfed was his shield potions, aka probably his most impactful talent outside of Ancient Blessings. This is one of the talents that is what makes Hammer so scary to deal with, because it increases her burst protection just a tiny bit, which allows her to get a good siege tactics off and escape afterwards.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Towers of Doom it is in our first game. Oh, now we have to... Okay, we can't do that.
Okay.
So normally, the way it used to go is we introduce one team and then the other, but two teams at the same time. That's going to make it a little bit hard.
Let's go at the same time. I'll take TeamNut. It's Mercy, Malthael, Jigsaw, and Dia.
And we have Hugo, Keshi, Meng, ZJZ, and Huhu for TheOne. Man, I'm going to have to get this hee-hee out of my mind right now.
You are. It's going to be difficult. I have to do it as well. Yeah, I was expecting us, like, we should have committed it, just done it at the same time.
Just talk over one another.
Exactly. But for now, let's start off with, at the beginning of the game, looking at the level 1 talents, and everything's pretty normal. The stuff we can see variation in, we're seeing Ambush for Sergeant Hammer. Sometimes you will see that changed if you want to go for a big old push comp. Blaze going for that Neural Stim Pack cooldown reduction. Speaking cooldown reduction, the Innovate for the Malfurion at level 1, and we are seeing the Perfect Storm coming in for the Muradin.
Yeah, very true. I mean, sometimes you will see a couple of talents being changed or swapped here and there. For example, with Malfurion, we sometimes see Celestial Alignment, which will increase the reveal duration of Moonfire and his basic attack damage on a marked target for a little bit. But for the most part, as Tetra said, it's Shando's Clarity, you know, the utility. And especially when you have a mage like Li Ming in your roster that is heavily dependent on, you know, having enough mana during a team fight, then, of course, the increased availability of the Innervate will come in very, very handy. In the meantime, we see it too in trouble. Gets flung over. Sergeant Hammer. One more basic attack, I think, would have sealed the deal, but just didn't get it off.
He had to unsiege. Malthael was in position, and that reset might have also spelled the end for Huhu there. So a very, very lucky escape by Atui, thanks to his teammate Malthael.
Absolutely. Now you can see both teams mirroring the movements of one another here, trying to go for those zapper camps quite at the same time, actually, and that is normally something that we see Chinese teams do in particular. You know, those early mercenary camps that they want to just make push out. I don't think we're going to see a successful invade here. Muradin was already on the prowl, trying to deflect any invasion attempts from TheOne.
Yeah. I don't think Meng's making as much use of this ambush at level 1 as I would have liked. He's against a Li Ming, and Li Ming is not being punished for wrapping around. So if that's the case, you need to make use of the ambush by unsieging and resieging to get that consistent critical, and then you can use that to burst heroes who try to move in, like that Li Ming who tries to move into range. However, it's not so much of a big deal now as the shield potion is online, so you can get that protection going so you don't have to worry about eating as much damage. But the fact that he hasn't been able to force Malthael back or out-mana Atui by getting that kind of burst damage is a little bit of a shame.
In the meantime, though, we saw that the Zappers from TheOne were able to get a little more done here. They were actually able to connect on those structures of TeamNut, whereas the Blue Mercenaries were dealt with pretty handsomely here by TheOne. So a little bit of an advantage going over to the red team. Also, I would like to say that, you know, we could really see the beautiful synergy between Decacane and Sergeant Hammer. Those shielding potions are going to be ever so useful against that long-distance poke provided by Li Ming and Hanzo, of course, for TeamNut. Now, 3 altars have spawned. 3 versus 3 in the bottom lane here up to this point. Meng is taking a little bit of damage, has to use the armor and the unstoppable from his level 4 talent already. So that might be a good moment for Daya on the Muradin to actually start to make a move.
Let's find out. For now, Atui moves into position. Good stun by Dai, zoning away Huhu and Meng. Without Hover Siege online yet, as no level 7 is even close, Cube will actually get the last second deny. Good job, ZJZ, who immediately eats some hammers for his trouble. Not stun hammers, though. They need to kill off those mines, because those will interrupt. Okay, never mind.
Daya in a little bit of trouble here, got actually flung into tower range, needs to dwarf toss to safety here. In the meantime, Li Ming in trouble. Aggressive play by Keshi already on that Phoenix, and Malthael on that Li Ming is going to fall first blood for the one.
Sniper quiet. Meng immediately re-sieges up, gets that ambush damage, focusing on Dia to prevent that regen coming in. He's forced to dwarf toss away, and another kill is dropped onto Atui.
And I was going to say, TeamNut was actually doing a pretty decent job at, maintaining their formation. But up to this point, I think it's one after another that is going to fall to the claws of the one. And without breaking much of a sweat here, they seem to be able to take the double altar. Now taking a little bit of a lead, both in experience and in core health.
Hover Siege finally online, so Hammer is going to have a much easier time in lane. She's hard to engage with siege tactics, and Hover Siege allows you to make them even more out of ambush, and of course, you get to reposition, which is the best bit. And another talent that's sort of massively jumped up in priority recently, the Crossfire, coming in for Blaze, giving even more burst damage.
Yeah, and Tetcher, can we say how Hugo potentially, we don't want to say this is a fact for now, but I'm already liking the approach of the one, trying to go for more defensive heroes on the offlane position of Hugo, because I think it's safe to say that the one, they were pretty, predictable in the way they would normally draft and play with Hugo on heroes like Thrall, Malthael, for example. And for the most part, he was actually refusing to play more tanky, more defensive heroes, like the Irel, for example. Did he play Irel at the Eastern Clash? I think he played it a couple of times, right?
He did. Obviously, it's hard to... Ooh. Nice kill achieved by TeamNut here. But it's really hard to tell, if the Irel was effective, because they were against Korea. But yeah, they played it against Ballistics, definitely. I remember that. He also played the Blaze, which is another hero he actually did not play that often in League play.
So maybe a little bit of a shift in strategy, and I really like the fact, I always like it when a team tries to diversify their potential drafting arsenal, because oftentimes for the one, it felt like the only thing that was kind of holding them back sometimes was their predictable drafting, whereas teams like SPT, on the other hand, they are pretty unpredictable at times.
So Kendrick, what we have here is, I believe that's a Charged Strikes and a Seeker coming in for Malthael on that Li Ming.
Yeah.
This is interesting because it's single target damage versus a relatively immobile hero. You could just hear that Seeker sound effect right then. But this is very interesting, just going for that basically harass the Hammer style, maybe even harass the Phoenix if she can knock him down a bit.
Yeah, that's a really good observation you made there, Tetcher, because we're normally used to seeing this build on Battlefield of Eternity sometimes when, Li Ming's like to go for that extra ounce of single target damage against the enemy immortal. So maybe, Li Ming is going to treat Meng on that Sergeant Hammer almost like a pseudo-immortal here, a still standing target that needs to be burst down with single target damage as much as possible. Of course, it kind of takes away, some survivability, some team fighting power. Here goes the taunt from Huhu, though, and there goes the combo as well, and Malthael, the hero we just talked about, ends up falling.
Yeah, no burst healing coming in from Atui there. Mercy eats an Arsenal synergy to the face. He just joined the fight and is forced to immediately leave it as he eats that burst damage. But yeah, Malthael, Malfurion, without that burst healing, is unable to protect through that kind of burst. BFG not even used there, but it was picked up at level 10.
Yeah, absolutely true. No level 10 available for TeamNut. Maybe, with Tranquility and 10 bonus armor, he could have stalled the inevitable a little bit longer, but as you said, there was nothing Malfurion could have done. It's a sustained healer, right? You need those longer poke battles, but when an enemy team composition is just going for a single target with all their CC, all that burst damage, there's little he can do. And as you can see, with Malfurion right now is still holding on to his level 10. China is a region that relies more on Tranquility than any other region, I might want to say, but whenever they go for that silence, for that Twilight Dream, they actually always seem to have pretty good results.
That's a Dragon Strike coming in for Hanzo.
Oh no, they're doing it again, Tetcher.
I mean, this map does have choke points. We've seen other regions do it as well now. but I don't think there's enough lockdown to justify it. It might be a good zoning tool. It might be what it needs. Stormbolt dodged by Hugo. Bunkers down. Bunkers finished off by Seeker very quickly through a Malfurion. It still lands, and they finish off Hugo.
All right, the bunker unfortunately not preventing the root of Malfurion's entangling roots there. Otherwise, I think Hugo might have been able to go to safety, but he was popped like a bottle. And, well, without that Blaze now in their ranks, this is going to be pretty hard for them to hold, or is it?
That's interesting just to realize that the thing... Nice interrupt with the Sonic. Nice interrupt there. Sorry, zoning there onto Meng. He's pulling back. There's the isolation. Dragon Strike zones. Quickly channel while you have the zoning tool. He tries to move back in. Indomitable, but can't even get close. They get the shots.
Yeah, so with a combination of, you know, the lack of Blaze and a zoning Dragon Strike, they were able to get this Alter, TeamNut, that is. And, you know, they stopped the bleeding a little bit because they were falling behind significantly. And also, if you look at the bottom lane here, that additional Bell Tower would have actually meant that the one would have been able to get 5 shots instead of 4.
Moves forward to zone away from that bell tower so they can try and keep control of it. Yeah, what I wanted to say in the previous fight time was basically the thing that killed Blaze was Seeker, because that allowed them to blow up the bunker quick enough for the root to still apply. You never see that. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, against the bunker, as you said, if you get a fully Ming Seeker missile combo in there, that thing is going to drop much more quickly than, you know, with the normal standard build that we're used to seeing from Li Ming with that Dominate. And so, yeah, that's pretty cool to see. I mean, whether... Yeah, wow. Okay, they were just giving that up, it seems.
Because...
A good trade. Oh, Hugo, are you really trying to do that?
They're going to try. They're going to come out beneficial in terms of shots if they do so. Hugo cannot interrupt this. No one's even close to interrupting it as well. So they actually trade up in terms of shots there.
Yeah, and also, of course, the bosses always give a decent chunk of experience as well. So, well done for TeamNut, you know, kind of getting value on the other end of the map. So now it's at 21 to 29, still in favor of TheOne. Of course, the 13 advantages here as well. They're posturing up the only altar that is going to be activated here in that bottom lane. There's absolutely nothing TeamNut can do about that. They don't have that bottom bell tower already. They don't even try without 13. So, you know, maybe they're going to get some counter value on the opposite side of the map here. Maybe they're trying to take the bell tower on top before the altar can even be channeled by TheOne. But you can really see how TheOne, they haven't really gotten vision yet. Now they do. Now they see. And they're not even taking this altar. They realize, you know what? We're going to just take that middle if the enemy team doesn't want to defend at all.
Yeah, makes sense. Trade up once again. Get that value. Takes a fair amount of damage here, but potions will be applied pretty quickly. And this will be a 1-for-1. How well can Blaze... Yeah, Blaze just takes the shots anyway before he loses top lane. It would be a bit weird. But now, here comes Thea. They're going to try and make a play. Root onto Phoenix. There's interrupting the teleport of Phoenix. Just accidentally killed Phoenix.
Yeah, absolutely true. And he might actually be the one falling now next as well. The bunker's right next to him. Does you know, and here comes the BFG with terrible, terrible damage.
Yeah, roasted as Hugo, though, gets turned on. They're still fighting. Malvale is solo. He has no dominance because he went for charge strikes. They're turning back around. Is already back to full. He is super low. Jigsaw pulls him in. They get a trade 1-for-1. That is a 3-for-2 fight in favor of TeamNut.
Yeah, TeamNut, they made a little bit of a statement here, you know, almost equal now in experience again. And once again, we could see that beautiful damage coming in from the Dragon Strike, unfortunately not being shown in the replay, but the BFG, it was so good. Hugo desperately trying to go over to Li Ming, but Malthael stayed too far away. And now, of course, with Meng being uncontested, even TeamNut will have to retreat. But look at that beautiful kill there with the tongue on Dahaka. And with a man up, they're trying to finally capture back that bottom bell tower, and they successfully do so.
Cannoneer on this Li Ming, going all in on this auto attack Q style. Wouldn't be surprised to see Fireflies at level 16 for this, but they're going to move in. TeamNut, they're fighting to try and get some control. If they can move on to this with Dahaka already on the point, Lornado used, they steal away the camp.
And you know what, Tetra, this is exactly what they need. Grab as many objectives as you can while you have the upper hand. 15.5 to almost 15.5. The game is dead even when it comes to experience. What now? 3 altars being spawned. How are the rotations? The red bell tower in the top lane was just recaptured, but look at Murden. Look at TeamNut. They're postering up so aggressively in here.
They're going for an 8. Hanzo needs to interrupt. Oh, salvo to deny from over the wall. I don't know if that's efficiency, but it was certainly fun. as they trade 1 for 1. Now, cannot make this aggressive play. It's 16 to 15 in favor of the One. The One need to try and make the aggressive play whilst XP is soaked. Yeah. Tries to move in, but it's quickly dodged by Dia, and level 16 will be acquired by Dahaka.
The thing is, the One, they don't necessarily need this altar, right? They still have a major lead compared to TeamNut, but TeamNut, on the other hand, if they find a pick or two with those instant resets provided for Li Ming, they could really snowball ahead a little more. Let's see what they can do.
Dahaka needs a Brush Stalker. They can't afford to let this go. ZJZ is channeling. It's too late. That's gone. So they're going to lose yet another 4 shots onto their core. Dahaka was split soaking. What is happening? Dragon Strike is a little late.
Yeah, so I think that was actually a misplay. I really think TeamNut didn't want to let this objective go like that. As you said, the Dahaka could have maybe burrowed into the backline, you know, cause a little bit of commotion, a little bit of confusion. And also the Dragon Strike, it was just cast too late. It's not one of those abilities you want to hold back on to for, you know, until the end of time. It's actually a tool you want to use early. So you either, you know, zone the enemies out or you interrupt the altar from being channeled. So a little bit of a miscommunication issue, I think, for TeamNut, and they're now being brought down to 5 core HP.
That's pretty low. Boss won't be up Boss will be up pretty soon as well, so they need to be careful of that. Muradin dodging all this poke from Deckard Kane. I don't know if they have vision off him, actually. So this Muradin could be a good wraparound. Now they have vision off him as Huhu sees him rotate up. Meng will finish off this camp pretty easily here, as they're instead going to try and take down Phoenix. Root is just perfect. And once again, TeamNut able to find a nice isolated kill. But once again, can they capitalize on it as Huhu is able to escape?
Yeah, really, really good reaction there by Huhu, casting his combo to keep the enemy warriors at bay. Also a nice carpet of you know, potions to keep him safe and sound as well. But still, the death timers, you know, Tetra, at this point in the game, they're actually becoming pretty significant. Still 20 seconds until Keshi is going to be back. And, you know, while it's not really a crucial killing blow against the One because they have such a juicy bank on core HP, it's still a little bit of a blow. And if they actually get staggered deaths now, it might turn out pretty badly for them.
We're going to find out. They're moving on. Boss not being taken. An Altar and a Boss is enough for the One to win here. They're going to begin the Altar immediately. Scatter Arrow value straight away. I would not mind an early Dragon Strike this time. Quick toss on Dia. They've interrupted with the Arcane Orbs coming in for good delays, at least for the moment. There's that early Dragon Strike. They're going to try and use it straight in. It's very good into the choke point. But the Lord Nader for the counter zone. But in the meantime, Deckard Kane is taken down, and that's going to massively affect sustain.
Deckard Kane took his entire Dragon Strike to the face and was then executed by Hanzo with a lovely aimed scatter shot. That was so cool. I wish we could see a replay from that, because this is exactly how TeamNut wants to play this. This was probably the best fighting location they could hope for. And yet again, with a man advantage, with no support on the side of the One, they're trying to make something happen here, but Dahaka is in trouble.
He gets taken out. He tried to use isolation to save himself there, but was unable to. But the boss was taken in at the meantime, bringing the One down to 13 core health. Dia just dodging the Groundbreaker is able to back up as well. But the fact is, TeamNut are still in this game with the value Dragon Strike.
Those are some, you know, hard nuts to crack. They're not really giving up here. The One, they looked so good in the early mid-game. But for some reason, TeamNut have finally found their rhythm. And, you know, they're taking down members of the one after another. For now, though, with that, you know, advantage on their side now, with still 15 seconds until the Dahaka will be back. What can the One actually achieve here? They have the mercenaries charging up and blasting onto the bottom bell tower. Meng is definitely going to try to get that to make it a 4 versus 4 shot count, but the middle, super low. I like the rotations from the One right now.
It's very smart. They're going to move in. TeamNut looks like they want to maybe fight pre-20 to punish this and maybe save mid. There's a good taunt. Lord Nader begins to zone away the toss using the Titanic fight as well as Dia goes in. He drops the Avatar, tanking through this at least for the moment. They dive forward. Salvo comes out, but Blaze is already dead.
Dia still going. Wait, he actually went back in? That was a little bit of a miscalculation there on Muradin.
That was insane. Good burrow, but it's not going to be enough. It gets tossed in. Does he have isolation? No, 10 seconds away. He is taken out as well. Dragon Strike is off target as actually Keshi is dropped super low. Malthael continues to throw in the pain.
The front line is down, Tetra. TeamNut has nobody left to hold it, but he also needs to be so careful. Now Meng is on the retreat. Li Ming is absolutely dominating.
Malthael on this Li Ming is shredding them, but the ult are up. Kenshi is going to begin to
it.
move on. Someone needs to interrupt him. Looks like they're going to go for the aggressive one. No, they're going to zone. They're going to zone, try and zone this away. Li Ming, though, gets tossed up, blinks away, but she's taking a lot of damage. Kenshi goes down as they move forward. It's a 3 versus 3 now as they move on to the point. Good interrupt using the bullseye. Mercy able to leap away. Toss on Malfurion, though. That could be a disaster. Down he goes.
Down he goes, and the potions are still going strong. Bottomless flash. They will always come back. So even if ZJZ ended up falling here right now, they would have had enough, enough healing actually. But here goes the interrupts. Mercy. He needs to be careful. Malthael actually running into the enemy team side.
He had the spell tower is his. He actually is.
Archon!
The hugger from over the wall. They get it. The dice disintegrate, but he's alive. The Sergeant Hammer is able to live for the moment. Good double top from here. Hugo from the other side is an Archon pure power to try and save this game. He's delaying. He's doing a good job there.
Tornado!
But Dia is surviving. The Tornado is forcing it. Well, away. He gets jumped on by he gets thrown actually. ZJZ is thrown onto him. Dia is able to escape as well, but they still need to delay.
No, this has to be it, right? The bullseye.
Nice. The Dragon strikes. But he will die.
Still not done. But here goes Hanzo. So now it's a lone dwarf. Hammer is actually down. Fell to the Bellator, I believe.
Malfurion's alive, but Dia can't get to the altar. But that is lethal. 5 shots on the
Oh my goodness.
And the TheOne take game number 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to HGC China. I know you've missed us. I know you've missed these action-packed games. And so did we, Tetcher. What is happening?